Hello, and welcome to Once More with Feeling, I guess we're calling it for the moment. I'm Edmund, and joining me is...
Yes, I'm here to talk about music.
So, as the first show, we're just testing things for the moment. First things first, we'll be discussing music we've been listening to recently, and also reviewing the new Devin Townsend album, Dark Matters, which is the sequel to the album Ziltoid the Omniscient. So, to get us started, what have you been listening to mainly?
Recently, it's been a mix of stuff, really. I mean, one thing in the loop is the Metal Gear Rising of Vengeance soundtrack. I managed to go pick up a copy recently, and it's really fun, yeah?
Yeah, that's been one of the main things I've been listening to. I've actually lost count of the amount of times that I've listened to Rules of Nature and The Only Thing I Know for Real.
I get the entire thing on loop myself. I mean, that's my favourite tracks, probably, I'm a Master Now, and it nearly has to be this way.
Oh god. That, although I love the song, it does give me horrible flashbacks of that fight.
Haha. NANOMACHINES song.
Well, for the most part, it's fine, but it's just that final sequence of QuickTime events where you're just having to bash on this guy.
That's probably a QuickTime event to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a music show, not a game show.
Yeah. But also, I've mainly been listening to just random things, really. Like, key one in my playlist has been Garbage's I'm Only Happy When It Rains.
Well, it's a quality album. I mean, I said their first three Garbage albums are actually quite timeless. I mean, it's been over a decade since they were released, and they still sound really good. So.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where they got the production quality and the sound just absolutely perfect. You know, there are some albums that the band just knows how to capture lightning in the bottle.
Did a pretty good job of it too.
Yeah, and you can't hear... I mean, you could argue that production quality has improved, but I honestly can't tell the difference between Garbage's first three albums and albums released nowadays in terms of quality.
I think generally the actual overall quality of most albums has gone up, but they still had the quality back then to do it. It's just that it wasn't done as often.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, look at Metallica's Black Album.
Indeed.
They got everything crisp, and I think that's one of the problems with how they've been going now, because everyone's so frustrated with them not getting things as crisp and precise as they did back then.
And of course, St. Anger.
Oh god. Don't even
but their songs are about twice the length they should have been, because they pretty much just looped it twice.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have difficulty telling when the lyrics are different to how they were in the Saint Anger songs.
You look at it like Invisible Kid, I think it's called. I haven't heard it for a while. But yeah, it's like pretty much an 8.5 minute song, but it's about 3.5 minutes of stuff just repeated.
Jesus wept. Death Magnetic was a bit better, but it was nowhere near as good as they had been before.
Indeed, it's kind of a bit of return to form, but not quite there still. Hopefully they'll improve further back to where they were, but you can't be trusted them that much after the last few albums have been pretty awful.
Yeah, especially that Lou Reed collaboration they did. Oh god.
It was a weird combo, but hey. At least they tried it, I guess. I mean, it's better than just trying to release the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, there's no problem with experimentation. It's just, Jesus wept. They did not... It was not a Metallica meets Lou Reed collaboration. It was Metallica trying to be Lou Reed and failing horribly.
Indeed.
What's most depressing is I swear that was like the last thing that Lou Reed did before he died.
This is true. I mean, I can't say I really listened to much Lou Reed. Maybe you should get on that. You know, he's one of those names that's out there, and I've just never paid attention to him.
My mum is a huge fan of Lou Reed, so grew up listening to some of his stuff.
That makes sense. There's a lot of bands out there I need to keep up with. A lot of I know has come from my dad, so...
Well, some of the stuff that I've recently listened to has just been me randomly typing things into YouTube or whatever and just going, oh, this is cool.
It's true, I picked up a few albums recently of the same method. I mean, listened to a lot of Perturbator and Dead Astronauts recently, kind of synthwave stuff. And by Last FM, I found out a few other bands being a universally titled Triv or something.
I mean, that Peter Gabriel song I showed you, Come Talk to Me. That was literally me just typing "talk to me" into YouTube just as a curiosity, and that's what I got.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea. I mean, I think one of the interesting things is you can literally just search for new music, and there's always something out there you'll find. There's so much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, started to listen to Theory of a Dead Man recently because of a collaboration that Alice Cooper did with them.
Basically, you know, Nickelback was being interesting.
Yeah, and actually being able to sing.
Which is a bonus.
Because I remember hearing a description of how Chad Kroger's voice sounds like he's singing out of his arse.
Well, I mean, the lyrics generally are, so...
Yeah.
Once again, we should probably get back on topic. This is a music show, not a Nickelback hating show. Although, it needs to be said, really.
Yeah, but we can probably do that on a sideshow or something.
Or every episode, just drop one-liners here and there.
Yeah, which isn't very difficult when it's Nickelback.
This is true. Like, this album was pretty good, but there's one song, it's kind of Nickelback party. Sorry, talking about Saint Anger?
Oh god, I think Saint Anger should just... I'm hoping that something like, you know, with the E.T. Atari...
It's get buried somewhere in the desert.
Yeah, every copy is just... sort of 30 years down the line, they'll just find this dump site of Saint Anger copies.
We'll try and forget it. It will not work. We get dug up in like 50 years and everyone will be like, oh god, why did we ever dig this up again?
There are some bands that you just think, how did they start out sounding quite interesting and then become this dull?
Yeah, that happens quite often. I mean, personally, I quite like the earlier stuff that Placebo did, and then the recent albums just haven't been interesting.
Yeah.
So did Muse, actually. I really like the first two Muse albums, especially, but the newer ones just bore me.
Yeah, Muse, I've never been able to get into, but I will agree, their earlier albums were far more interesting. Now it's almost like they're trying to be Coldplay meets Radiohead.
Which is possibly the most dull combination ever.
Yeah, I mean, Radiohead, again, I've never been able to get into, and what frustrates me most with them is whenever people do Creep. It's
an overplayed song, and that's the problem, really.
Well, the other problem is every iteration of it sounds exactly the same.
I've managed to hear, actually, you know, someone covering Ave Maria and made it sound a lot different to the original. So if someone could do it with Ave Maria, I'm pretty sure I could do it with Creep.
Yeah. Well, okay, tell a lie. There is one version, I'll play it to you later, but it's basically this guy who does covers as a robot.
That's really cool.
And it's really quite bizarre and interesting because it does still have the feelings of disaffectedness and detachment that Creep is meant to have. I mean, I may hate the song, but I can accept that it is meant to have that feel. But it makes it sound very strange, and because it's sung by a robot, it actually emphasises the feeling of detachment.
Which actually works with the theme of the song, I think. So it just works better that way.
Yeah.
Other than just Tom White. Don't whatever his name is. Tom, for his name.
Oh, I can't remember.
Tom York.
Yeah, Tom York. It's actually
a very whiny kind of voice, I think.
Yeah. Although at least it's not as whiny as Chester Bennington.
This is true.
Although
we're going to piss off a lot of people with this first episode.
Oh well, at least it'll get me known.
That's true. Like, hey, a new radio show starts up. Everyone hates on Nickelback on Radiohead.
But let's get back on track with stuff that we've been listening to and enjoying.
What else have you been listening to,
eh? Let's see. Oh yeah, I've actually been getting into a lot of Bloodhound Gang recently.
You were saying about 90s music that wasn't that great, you know?
Yeah, well, I think we've all confirmed by now that I am a massive hypocrite, so...
That's true. I mean, personally, you could quite easily go out and listen to a bunch of Beastie Boys if you really wanted.
Yeah.
You know,
although Beastie Boys, again, not... I mean, maybe it's just when I was younger and I was more heavily into just metal, that I couldn't get into Beastie Boys. I'll probably give them a try now. The only song I actually know of theirs is a parody song.
The thing about them is they're kind of a band that doesn't take themselves seriously. So.
Oh wait, 2 songs. Of course, there's Fight for Your Right to Party.
Of course.
Oh god, and I've just reminded myself of when Coldplay decided to cover that.
Oh, that just reminded me of that time when, I can't remember who it was, but some Japanese singer, I believe, decided to cover Vida La Vida. And it was really quite interesting.
I can imagine. I mean, although
Aimer? I can't remember.
Although Viva La Vida is probably one of Coldplay's most ripped off songs, as in they ripped off so many artists with that, it's unbelievable. It's sort of like, I can't remember which artist it was, but he was basically saying they've ripped me off. Who was it? Yeah. Accused. Oh God. There's a full Wikipedia. Joey Satriani.
That makes sense. Yeah. Good old Satriani.
Yeah.
His album's lying around or something.
Suit claims that Viva La Vida incorporates substantial original portions of his instrumental track "If I Could Fly," and when you listen to them back to back, you're sort of like, "Oh God, yes."
Well, Coldplay popular. These people would not even know who Joey Satriani is. It's a very likely thing.
Well, one person that people will know is Cat Stevens also.
Yeah, I think we'll know Cat Stevens.
Yeah.
People who like Coldplay generally aren't that intelligent from what I know. So. Once again, just bashing possibly a large part of the fan base. But sweeping accusations and all. These things need to be said, you know.
Chris Martin.
I mean, opinion is possible.
Yeah. Chris Martin once said that the plagiarism allegations were inspiring him, and added, "If everyone's trying to take away our best song, then we'd better write 25 better ones." No! So much no! That is someone clearly not getting why he's being accused of plagiarism.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. But yeah, main songs aside from The Bad Touch. I don't even know how it happened, but you know, Facebook, I type in as a status, "I appreciate your input," and then several of us end up writing out line for line the entire song. I don't even know how that happened. But yeah, the other 2 that I've mainly been listening to is Untis, which is just so...
That title is majestic.
Yeah. Well, the opening line is unts, baby.
Well, it actually sounds like, me and Richard listening to radio.
Yeah. And then the chorus is going, "What I need is your untis.
Truly a masterpiece of lyrical content.
Well, it's the thing is, when you listen through enough Bloodhound Gangs, you realise their lyrics are so filthy that there is not one song that you can say is categorically not about sex.
It's not necessarily about it.
It's either getting lots of sex, discussing sex in graphic detail, wanting sex, or never getting sex because everyone's picking on you.
Yeah, that sounds like my life.
Actually, aside from that, there's also Alice Cooper's song "Caffeine."
Yeah.
Which...
Oh, Alice Cooper. It's into Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I've got the full discography, so it's sort of...
Well, you can't really go wrong with having everything.
Although...
Metallica.
Well, one thing that really threw me was Alice Cooper did a collaboration with Kesha.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kesha!
There's worse people. But
Sorry?
There's worse people. There's not quite many, but hey.
Well, it could be worse. It could have been Rihanna.
This is true. Rihanna can kind of sing. It's just that she can't write songs.
Yeah. It's kind of the reverse of... It's actually the reverse of Kesha.
Yeah, this is true.
Because I can easier listen to Kesha's songs than I can Rihanna's, simply because at least the lyrical content is interesting.
Indeed. Well, just other than the not very good cinema.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take interesting lyrics over just repetition.
Can someone just get you two to collaborate together and maybe have, a song written by Kesha and sung by Rihanna? Because that would be too bad,
Yeah. Well, one thing I've noticed is Rihanna can do good songs when she's doing collaborations.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that a lot of it isn't collaboration.
Yeah. Although, admittedly, I do have odd songs by Rihanna and Kesha and whatnot are guilty pleasures of mine, I will admit.
The Wreck-It Ralph track on here with David or something. That's not a bad song, actually.
Wait, wasn't that AKB48?
No, they were it too.
Yeah.
Rihanna on there, there's AKB48, there's a couple other bands as well.
That's what's good about soundtracks, I find. Even if you don't like an artist overall, you can still find songs of theirs that you can enjoy.
Yeah, because the thing about soundtracks is they quite often get a bunch of bands that nobody's ever heard of getting appreciation because they're on a soundtrack somewhere.
Yeah. So one thing that really struck me as weird was when I heard To Anyone in an advert.
To Anyone. It's not bad way. Also, I know the fact that Perfume have a song in Cars 2 as well. It's probably the only good thing about Cars 2, but Cars 2 wasn't very good. Animation's good, but the actual story is awful.
I didn't bother with Cars 2, it was just one of those. It
was on TV, so you watched it.
Yeah.
It's like, your Perfume came on, it's like, I recognise this song.
Yeah, but yeah, it's sort of like Alice Cooper's Caffeine. It's just, when you listen to it, you realise, one, it really is sort of a debauchery, mad song. And two, it is glorious. Not in the...
being debauchery and mad does sound the right kind of terms for Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Not in the glorious as in this is so gloriously cheesy. I just mean it is insanely brilliant. It opens... I'm trying to think of how to describe how it opens, but it's almost like the song itself is on a drug that's making it get faster and faster.
Well, really, it's just on caffeine, It's been the point. Caffeine is a drug, after all.
Yeah, and of course, Theory of a Dead Man. A few of theirs that I've mainly been listening to, it's like Misery of Mankind and Panic Room.
Well, I've got into Theory of a Dead Man simply because of the soundtrack to the video game Fahrenheit. Or Indigo Prophecy, depending on what name you have for it. Because I've got 4 of their songs on there. Also, a lot of that soundtrack was written by Angelo Badalamenti, the soundtrack to Twin Peaks.
Huh. Not familiar with.
Very much recommended. Let's get more of Badalamenti's stuff. He's a quality composer. But of course, they went on, and the same director of that game made Heavy Rain, which was questionable.
Yeah. I've yet to play Heavy Rain, but...
It's kind of thing which is enjoyable the first time through, but then when you do it through again, you realise all the plot holes.
Which is never good with a game.
Also the fact they're sporting it as like numerous multiple endings and multiple options for who the killer is, and then it never really fulfilled on
that. And also rekindled my love for the Repo soundtrack.
You lost love for it?
Well, it's more... I didn't lose love for it, it's more Sunday just passed, I finally watched it after not having seen it for 4 years.
Yeah, fair.
And
you just go on there, I'm your godmom.
Sorry?
I'm your godmom.
Oh god. Although it's not quite as bad as repossessions are dangerous. That line is sort of like, no shit!
It's got a few questionable lines in it, but it is genuinely a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
So, I think that one line, Chase the Morning, is just a really good song.
Well, there's a couple of lines. I'm your godmum, and you have your mother's eyes, her hair.
Wait a minute. Also, how do you know I was making do more with my eyes and sing, or whatever? It's like, but there's always blimps everywhere.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but she's got a TV in her room.
Yeah, we probably should get back on topic and start talking about the problems of Repo. It is a musical, so I guess it does kind of count.
Yeah. But anyway, shall we get to discussing the main focal point of this whole thing before people get bored with our yammering?
Yeah.
So yeah, Dark Matters.
Dark matters indeed. It does indeed matter.
Well, from the first song, I was immediately grabbed by it.
Well, it's just an introduction, and then you're like, oh, dialogue. Setting the scene and all.
Well, the thing is, the original album, Ziltoid the Omniscient, was staged as a musical. When you actually listen through it in full, it is a musical. It's just with Dark Matters, he went full out with it.
That's not a musical, more of a space opera. I hate musicals.
Oh, I love how it's sort of like, yes, this is a sequel, so we'll have returning characters, but we're not just going to rehash the original album.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about it. Everyone I've seen have been complaining about it, because like, oh, we wanted another Ziltoid, we wanted something the same again, but better and more of it. And then it's like, no. Devin Townsend's never really been like that. He just, does something new.
Yeah. Well, Devin Townsend, he'll maintain themes, but he won't just stick to the same thing, because if you look, well, having talked to him, it's very clear to see that he gets bored very easily if he's just doing the same thing. That's,
a lot of people do, really.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why he stopped doing Strapping Young Lad, because he got bored with it, and also he wanted to see about being able to do music that wasn't sort of rage-filled and all that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, see, a lot of the Strapping Young Lad stuff is just heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy metal, all the way through.
Yeah.
It seems that a lot of his other albums, especially later ones like Deconstruction, for example, he just to switch around a bit. If we did something like Terrier or Key, it's a lot more varied.
Yeah, and it's like with Dark Matters, he's maintained the sound that he had from the original album.
Shows up a lot in quite a few of the certain songs as well.
Yeah, like the
Puzurian
Overlords.
Yeah. I think quite like Earth as well. Earth is quite similar to some of the stuff on the original Ziltoid, I'd say. That's how the wins, personally.
Yeah. And I'd say Dimension Z, or Z... No, it would be Dimension Z.
You'll say he's Canadian.
Yeah, they can actually pronounce things properly. Hey-oh!
Then I guess most of the fan base again.
I'm probably going to have to mark off sort of like, if you've stayed with us up till now, congratulations, you're one of the 3 remaining people
on Earth. This podcast actually caused the apocalypse.
Oh god.
As masses and masses of Coldplay and Radiohead fans just decided to nuke each other.
Are there really that many fans left? I mean, is Coldplay even still around?
I think so, yeah. I think there was an album relatively recently. I think I just didn't really care, so I didn't really listen.
Yeah, fair enough.
This guy was actually still live before. Well, I must admit the guy did actually think his lyrics in the middle of one of the songs. It's kind of funny. Who's this? No, on the stage at Glastonbury, and he just looked up and was like, oh, I've forgotten the lyrics. It's like, nice, you're broadcast across national TV in front of tens of thousands of people and you just, forgot the lyrics.
Yeah. Although, I have come across bands who have had that situation and they've just gone, yeah, I've forgotten the lyrics, you might as well, you obviously know it, so come on.
That's what happened when that one sequence I showed you before about Anathema doing One Last Goodbye.
Yeah.
When, the singer broke down in tears and the crowd just sang the song for him.
Yeah. Although in that case it's understandable why he did, god damn.
Yeah. But I still love that video. I wish I was there.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been amazing. But anyway.
It was amazing enough to see the entire crowd sing along to that song whilst it's playing in an interlude at a different festival. Singing it actually with the band would be even better. Anyway, back to Ziltoid.
Yeah, there's just so many points as sort of like, we've already had introduction of the Ziltoidians, so we know that's all going on, and humanity is now going nuts because aliens exist and all that sort of thing. What's the line? It's sort of, they're going out of their tiny little minds or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So I haven't listened to it for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Which I'm not coming home early tonight, so...
Uh, I just love the fact that it's sort of like we've got return of Captain Spectacular.
I like it. Also, he's got returning of Herman, the Planet Crusher.
Yeah.
Crusher. You've got Ziltoid, obviously, you've got Captain Spectacular. And they introduced a new character as well, which kind of just pitches it and carries on a bit further.
Yeah. And obviously, during the final song, there's heavy implications that we'll have a following album from this.
That's kind of thing you could work with. I mean, it's kind of build on the main characters and the setting, so you can carry it on whenever he wants.
Yeah. In all honesty, I think it's good that we had the wait for the second Ziltoid album, just because there were so many things that Devin needed to work out over the course of his career for him to be able to be in the right headspace to produce the album.
Yeah, well, I think if you don't rush into it too fast, you can have problems like bad writing or just rush production or whatever.
Yeah.
He's been thinking about it for quite a while, I would have thought, and just kind of develop those ideas and decide what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you consider that his key addiction, deconstruction, and ghost set, 85% of that was completed within sort of like 1 year, lyrics and all that sort of thing. He actually wrote, he said in the short comic that he wrote that 85% of it was written in that short a time.
So it'll be interesting. See where he goes from here. I mean, it'll probably be a while before he does it. Another album, if he does do another album again. But I think having a wait would work.
Yeah, I am hoping he does, but again, I would be happy to wait for a sequel, because that's one of the things I've noticed with a lot of artists who try to do sequel albums. Quite often it will be so soon after the previous one that they haven't worked everything out, and the songs won't feel right for the album.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists have that problem anyway. I mean, quite a lot of the albums I've heard, there's always like one or two tracks that seem to just come out of nowhere and doesn't really follow the album properly.
Yeah. I mean,
a concept album makes even more sense to be, directly following on from each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to consider that Hyperdrive wasn't actually originally intended for Ziltoid.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those, he did sort of justify how it would work in context of the album, but ultimately it was actually, I might be talking out my arse and confusing things here, but if I remember correctly, his intention was for it to be on a subsequent album, but he had the idea and he needed to get it out there. It's different with Dark Matters, because in that case, I don't know about you, but for me, every song feels perfect for
1 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does very much kind of flow. Everything feels right in the right place as well.
Yeah.
It's important. Sometimes bands get the order wrong and they think, oh, that should have really been there. If we move tracks around, it works better.
Yeah.
In this case, it seems to just work in the right order.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was agonising day in, day out, working out every nuance and every lyric to get it just right.
Yeah. There's a lot of work into it. I mean, all the dialogue seems to be at the right time, and pretty amusing parts in there as well.
Yeah. I love the fact that the Poozers sound like Beaker from the Muppets.
That's pretty great.
It was one of those, wait, that's Beaker!
I do wonder what they look like.
Actually, I looked that up. Give me a sec.
I'm not quite sure what to imagine, to be fair. Anyway, it was Beaker and talking. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's
what... That is kind of horrifying.
Yeah. Just a tad.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, they have brain with face. Cruises. There's only like thousands of them just marching now.
Sorry?
There's only thousands of them just marching.
What's really weird is I looked up Pooza without Devin Townsend, and I found out that it's a Green Lantern thing.
Oh wow.
It was one of those, wait, this is... A Pooza is something from the Green Lantern.
Well, everyone knows that the real secret has been unleashed, that Ziltoid is a nerd.
It's actually an insult along the lines of jackass or putz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
March of the insults.
To be fair, when you consider how the War Princess regards the Poozers, because she does hate them, just gets annoyed when anyone else messes with them.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, I hate them, and only I'm allowed to hate them.
Yeah.
In a way.
That's the point. We should probably explain what is going on in, what the first album and this album are all about.
Yeah, that would probably help.
Alright. So, way into the discussion about the album, we'll finally explain what we're on about. Ziltoid the Omniscient, the first album, is basically about this strange alien creature called Ziltoid the Omniscient, who has travelled the Omniverse in search of our universe's ultimate cup of coffee.
Dude.
And black coffee, by the way. And when he's offered it, upon drinking it, he finds it to be fetid and foul, and declares war on Earth.
Because, when you get a really bad cup of coffee, it's what you want to do.
I wouldn't know, I'm not a coffee drinker, so...
No, I just know that I know people who do drink coffee and have had a bad cup and they just want to murder him.
Fair enough.
So it's based in logical reality. Apart from, it's based off something. Like the aliens and...
Yeah. And over the course of this, characters like Captain Spectacular, who's sort of the last remaining leader of humanity, does battle with Ziltoid. Also, the Planet Smasher, who is... Well, we don't really know what the Planet Smasher is initially. Get onto that in a moment. But it's basically this very monstrous creature who hates musicals, and in our tongue is called Herman.
It's on the 8th dimension.
No, 6th dimensional.
It's 6th dimensional, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what that is, no one knows.
Yeah. Well, there's a theory that there's like 10 dimensions or 11 or something like that, so go figure.
All we know is it's not something very nice at this point, at least.
I know Ziltoid is the 4th dimensional, which means he's length, breadth, depth, and time.
Well, that makes sense.
But yeah, he basically conquers Earth. Although the closing is a bit baffling because the very last track on that album is a coffee barista daydreaming.
So it's kind of like, did this all happen, or was it just a dream?
Yeah.
Just a dream endings.
What makes that even more confusing is you get to Dark Matters, and it's not taken from the perspective of being written by someone who daydreamed something or anything like that. No, it's all staged as if it's real. So you're pretty much left at the end of the first album going, so was it real? Wasn't it real? Was it real? Wasn't it real? I don't know.
There's no real way of saying the second one was real. It could well have been a theatre production based on this guy's thoughts.
Yeah.
We're kind of introduced as a stage play kind of thing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it opens by saying, I have someone to introduce to you.
Ziltoid the Omniscient.
And everyone's very excited. And he seems to have won himself into the hearts of humanity. Until he reveals that he's kidnapped a creature known as a Poozer. Now what these things are, they're from the planet Titan. They are the children of this alien called the War Princess, who discovers the kidnapping of one of her children and goes a bit mental, to say the least.
Give it back, my Poozer.
She finds out, it seems all aliens are attracted to Earth because of coffee. She finds out about Ziltoid's planet dying, and so he's come to Earth, and she questions why, and questions about what this coffee is. And from there it just gets really insane.
There's a lot of Poozers and a lot of war, and Ziltoid double-crossing everybody.
Yeah, it's heavily influenced by War of the Worlds when the Poozers invade, because they are basically described as driving tripods.
Ding, 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 ding. That's when my friend was playing the War of the Worlds musical soundtrack. Very, very good album, I think. I think jealous enough he's going to see it live.
But during the attack, it's sort of like turning humans into more Poozers, and basically Ziltoid gets locked away because he's blamed for inflicting this situation upon Earth, and then Captain Spectacular makes a deal with him.
And Ziltoid then goes, haha, you're all been cracked. Pretty much.
Well, he plans to double-cross them, and he initially does, and then undouble-crosses them, when it's revealed that Captain Spectacular is his half-brother.
Somehow.
Sort of like they have the same mother.
Yeah.
And
like in fact, we share the same mother.
And then the music breaks down, and it goes Jerry Springer style.
You what? That's amazing. Just next door, Jeremy Kyle. Listen, is this person really my brother?
But it really does start to sound like one of those talk shows. Oh yeah, I skipped a bit. They do actually end up getting the help of the Planet Smasher. Though I'm a bit... whilst the album is awesome, that is one thing that I do sort of question a little bit. I mean, do they explain how they get the help of the Planet Smasher?
Well, I think so. They kind of just summon it, and then it's kind of there.
Yeah. I mean, the Planet Smasher is described in the album as being sort of thousands of feet tall and having a great gaping maw of sharp teeth and a roar that can destroy planets.
And it turns out to be really, really small and cuddly.
And cute as a button!
Actual quote. Well, he's to the War Princess, anyway.
No, to Ziltoid.
Oh, Ziltoid does like it.
Yeah.
No version it was.
Oh, it was before they faced the War Princess with it.
And it turns out that actually it can't really do much.
Until Captain Spectacular gets killed and Ziltoid starts singing Memories.
Because the Planet Smasher hates musicals, and that's how you activate your super ability.
It ends up just at the moment that a musical gets referenced, it just goes mental and sucks and blasts both Ziltoid and the War Princess and all of the Poozers, I think.
Yeah.
Into a wormhole.
I hate musicals.
Quote from the first album.
Involving Planet Smasher.
Yeah. And then Dimension Z. Oh, important to note, I should be mentioning this. The production of the album, in particular, well, because it's a 3 CD album, you've got Sky Blue, which has nothing to do with Ziltoid or anything like that, Dark Matters, and the non-dialogue version of Dark Matters, which I haven't listened to yet because I can't... It doesn't seem right to not have dialogue with the album.
Yeah, I can't really imagine it without dialogue. I've listened to it at some point, just to see, and well, when in some of the earlier songs, there's so much dialogue there, it's kind of empty without it, I think.
Yeah, but important to note is with this album, he basically set up what's known as the Universal Choir, which is basically where he said to all of his fans, if you want to get involved, here's the raw file, here are the lyrics, record yourself, send it in, and you might get added to the Universal Choir and featured on 2 of the songs, in particular Z2 and Dimension Z.
Which is a pretty damn cool idea.
Yeah. It's also on Before We Die, which is on Sky Blue. I think it might be an idea to cover that next week, if you're up for it.
I'm up for it. It's all part of the same album, technically, so...
Yeah. I just decided to pick this one because I've listened to it recently and it's a sequel, so it's a good one to go, well, there's all this backstory. But yeah, he basically utilised every resource. I mean, this album probably wouldn't have happened as soon as it did if not for the crowdsourcing that he did for his previous album.
Crowdsourcing is an interesting thing. I mean, I like the way it goes. I mean, especially it's a way of getting interest and helping it be done in the first place.
Well, when you
it's being abused, but if it's done right, it's really quite effective.
Yeah. Well, when you consider that the crowdsourcing, it got to 513% of the original target.
It's rather impressive.
Yeah. I mean, he also gave some of the money to, like, dog shelters, that sort of thing, which is pretty cool. I mean, at least it's a different charity to the standard ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, if you have extra money, you may as well give it to charity. I mean, technically people are just paying you to make this particular project, so you don't really want to just, take it for yourself.
Yeah, and also, actually very important in connection with all of this, he's putting on a stage production for... I'm not sure if he's going to be putting it on for both Ziltoid, the Omniscient, and Dark Matters, but it will definitely be the first album.
I mean, both, like, one after the other, like, 1 or 2 days in a row or something would be amazing.
Oh, if it was 2 days in a row, that would just... I mean, it's at the Royal Albert Hall, so it could quite easily be just doing a full set with both albums.
Which would be freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Something I want to see.
Yeah. Well, the tickets sold out so damn quickly.
Not surprised.
I was lucky to get the tickets I got.
Yeah, no, I remember when they came out, they sold out like a day, I think it was, or something like that, if that.
In less than a day. I mean, they went on sale at like 10, and I was able to get like row W at like 10:30.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea of how quickly they were selling.
Yeah, it kind of does. Impressive.
I mean, when it's the Royal Albert Hall and they're selling that quickly.
Well, that was a major venue as well.
Yeah.
So, I suppose it's probably works and benefit for it.
Well, if you think, standard ticket was like 20 quid.
So it's not a bad price either.
Yeah.
It's a good price, good venue.
Yeah.
So, I'm not really that surprised it's all out that fast. But it's still impressive.
It's
a pity not going, really.
Yeah. Well, you did know when the tickets were going to be going on sale, so...
Yeah, I was trying to work out a way of putting, when to have book holiday, but I didn't go around to it in time. I didn't have it sold out pretty well instantly. Because after the cut-off point for this year, so I need to work out how to do it for next year. By the time I worked that out, it was already sold out.
Fair enough, that's a problem. I mean, that's the only good thing I have about not having a job at the moment, is the fact that I can basically go, well, I'm unavailable on this date.
Yeah, that's the benefit. I mean, obviously you're not getting, not having much money, but on the other hand, you can be more flexible.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, hopefully, if things go well with this whole thing, I might actually get a job.
That would help, indeed. Plus then you wouldn't have to stay up until 2 AM at work like an investor. Oh.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular you can think of that you'd say you would have had differently about the album?
I don't really. I mean, it does take a little while, I think, to start up. I mean, like, the first couple of tracks are very dialogue heavy.
Yeah.
So if you're not into the kind of, theatrical performance kind of thing, you may put people off, I think.
Yeah. I think that's the important thing to note about this album. If you're not into musicals or operas or things like that, this is probably an album to avoid. I mean, I grew up on musicals, so I'm not going to be put off by that much.
No, as far as musical goes, it is very well formed, so
yeah.
If you have like a passing interest in it, that may be enough to get you to check it out, and you may find something you really like. So.
Yeah. Also important to note is it is a heavy metal album. It may be structured as a musical, but it is heavy metal. So...
When you get into tracks like, say, Death Ray or Earth, it's very noticeable that there is a lot of metal influence there, especially.
Yeah. I mean, Death Ray especially because, well, that just really goes balls out.
It's It's kind of probably the closest thing there to like earlier Devin stuff, I'd say.
Yeah, but I think that's probably the closest we would get to earlier Devin stuff, because he generally tries to divorce himself from that point in his career. I think it's because it's one of those fear of being known for just doing that.
I feel like a lot of artists do tend to get stuck like that. They're in a certain kind of state where they get known for doing one thing, and they do something else, it really pisses people off.
Yeah.
I think with Devin, he's got enough variety already at this state that eventually people will realise, oh yeah, this guy's actually got a lot of talent, he can do a lot of different stuff, and still do really well no matter what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's very consistent across his entire career in regards to actual quality of releases. So
yeah, I mean, I can't think off the top of my head of a Devin Townsend song that I wouldn't have. If we're talking star ratings, there isn't a single one that wouldn't be at minimum a 4.5.
Well, you're a fanboy, but yeah. Even so, I think every single song pretty much is above average at least.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing really that stands out from what I've heard, which is most of his discography, as that I would say is actually a bad song. So, a lot of bands release like an album and it's generally good, but there's a couple of songs that you just never listen to for like crap.
Yeah.
But Devin doesn't have that. He's very, very consistent, especially within albums. If there's one album that comes along, like Deconstruction, for example, is solid all the way through.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, Deconstruction is just it. I mean, the important thing to understand about those 4 albums is the theory behind them all, and Deconstruction works so well because the whole point is you can deconstruct something. I mean, in the song Deconstruction, that is actually the whole theory behind it. You can deconstruct things to the most basic core principles and end up with something completely stupid.
I mean, it's a death metal song about cheeseburgers, so yeah.
Would you call it death metal?
I probably would actually, yeah. Either death or possibly thrash, a bit of prog in there. It's quite hard to classify, really.
That's the thing about a lot of Devin's music. He doesn't, even within songs themselves, he doesn't tend to stick to just one style of metal.
Yeah.
It's like the Mighty Masturbator.
Well, so that's kind of, it's mostly metal, but it has this random bits like kind of one carnival style thing.
Yeah. Or carnival style. He's got opera going on at points. I mean, seeing it live is, well, when he did the album live, it was one of those whoa moments. Not to mention the backing singers were pretty hot, but yeah, I can't think of anything about the album that I would have done differently. It's just everything seems perfectly in line with plot, structure, lyrics. Everything seems perfectly in line with the one thing that I might have added is how they got the Planet Smasher to help them.
Yeah. It might be in there, I've just forgotten it.
Yeah.
I don't recall it being explained.
Yeah. I might have added that in, but not necessarily, because as it stands, the album doesn't suffer from not knowing that.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the things. It's like it could have been extra material, but it doesn't. It still seems complete without it.
Yeah.
It's like extra DLC.
When DLC was actually what it was, instead of trying to have the game complete, but that's another matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as it stands, what rating, sort of talking star ratings, what rating would you give the album?
It's quite hard to explain, really. Possibly a 4, maybe 4.5. I mean, it's definitely a solid album. I wouldn't say it's his best album, but it is certainly good and worth a listen.
Yeah.
It's recommended, that's true.
I would be inclined to give it a 5, but that's mainly because there are other albums where I don't think all the songs have worked as well as over the course of the entire album as they have on this one.
Yeah, I think it's very much kind of above average even for Devin. I mean, it's better than a few of his albums, but not as good as a couple of other albums, I'd say. Yeah. And plus, I probably slightly prefer the original Zozoid as well, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say it's not better than...
It's a worthy follow-up.
Yeah, it's definitely a good follow album. It's not going to replace the original by any means, but it's certainly going to stand the test of time and work. You could quite happily listen one after the other and it not feel jarring.
Indeed. I need to actually do that at some point. I think possibly even after this, I may just listen through both the original Ziltoid and Zid 2.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing the same, because there's so much that you can probably... so many nuances that you can probably pick up on from listening to them back to back that you might not be able to pick up on just listening to them individually.
There's a lot of stuff that falls back to the first album, I think, and I think it'll stand out more if you listen to them in sequence.
Yeah.
There was an obvious links back, like things like obviously the Planet Smasher, Coffee, that stuff. But I think there's probably a few small bits hidden in there that, if you remember it strongly, it's like, oh, about that.
I mean, one of the ending things important to note is that Captain Spectacular provides Ziltoid with the ultimate coffee bean.
Which hopefully should keep Ziltoid from invading Earth again. It's really Godzilla. He's going to become a friend of the Earth and defend against the evil one.
Although
also the darker side as well.
Yeah, although accidentally destroy everything regardless.
That's what Ziltoid. Yeah, I can see that happening.
It'll just be a case of, God damn it, Ziltoid, we just finished rebuilding that!
Oh, guys, broken the Earth again.
Sorry.
Phooey.
Phooey. Indeed, phooey.
I've become the greatest guitar player ever known. Oh, Ziltoid.
If there were two omnisciences, I would be both of them.
Anyway, since we are tying this thing up a bit, I'd say personal favourite tracks would be March of the Poozers and Earth.
Mine are between Death Ray and March of the Poozers.
Especially Poozers is really good.
Yeah, and that's where it is there that they introduce the whole War of the Worlds aspect, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, it's kind of the build-up of the main story. It's where things start, going towards the climax. The entire actual musical arrangement is really solid as well.
Yeah. Everything is so crisp and right. And one thing to note, not just with this album, but with the majority, with all of Devin's albums, is it doesn't suffer from the key problem that a lot of metal albums suffer from recently, which is the wall of noise.
Yeah, this is true. A lot of metal albums just decide to come across as being really, really loud.
Yeah, that's
unnecessarily so usually.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with Death Magnetic, because although the songs are good, it suffers so much from the wall of noise.
It sounds like really loud, and you're like, yeah, metal, metal, metal. But then of course you realise that you can't really hear much. It's kind of just.
Yeah, I mean, although when my speakers were turned up just past half, it was causing my cursor to go absolutely nuts. I could still hear all the instruments individually, and it was all coming together quite expertly.
Indeed, I had quite loud in my headphones as well, and since I actually have proper headphones now, I can hear everything quite crisp.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, ending opinions, it's an awesome album, and if you're into musicals or heavy metal or both, I heavily encourage you to buy it.
Indeed, it is a good album. It is worth your purchase, especially if you can get the 3-disc version, which comes with 2 whole albums of music. You can't really argue with that.
Yeah, which I actually got earlier today.
I think I might get it at some point. There's a copy around.
Yeah.
It's not particularly expensive for 3 albums either.
17 quid, something like that?
Yeah, 16, I think. Which obviously it doesn't work if you're not in England, but
yeah, it's
not a bad price, If you actually, buy CDs, which most people don't, but we do. So.
Well, we both had the album before we bought it, so.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, if you're on the fence, give it a download, and if you like it, buy it.
And I think that's pretty much it for the first episode.
Indeed, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Devin Townsend is good.
Indeed.
Visit us next time on whatever we're calling the show, Once More with Feeling, or possible other working titles.
Yeah, I'll probably post up what it's actually called somewhere down the line.
They'll probably edit this so you don't have all this talk about what it's going to be called.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know, it could be quite fun.
Indeed.
Anyway, it's goodbye from me.